Welcome back to Wealth Mavericks. I am excited to have Bob Wolf with me here today. It's been a while, Bob. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Erin. It has been a while. Shame on you.
We're so excited to have you here. Okay, so today we are talking about conflicting financial advice. We know there is no shortage of information and advice out there, not just on the internet, which can be overwhelming, but within the financial industry itself. We all hear you should do this or you should not do that. And it makes sense. But then we can hear the complete opposite somewhere else. And it becomes hard to know what advice to trust. And the reality is, two pieces of advice can both be true. And when it comes to the question, should I do that? It's something I hear you tell our members all the time. And that answer is, it depends. Because financial advice is not one size fits all. And what makes sense for one person might not make sense for the next. And that is why we're so big on education in our membership, so that our members can be equipped to make confident financial decisions for their own situation. So Bob, today I want to go through 5 pieces of conflicting financial advice we've all heard and get your take on each one.
All
Are
right.
you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. The first one is cash flow versus future wealth. I know that Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was very impactful for you. And he talks in that about buying a cash flowing asset that can pay for the things you want. Like, say you want a sports car. Well, go out and buy an asset that will then pay for that asset. But then I've also heard you tell our members time and again that, hey, you make good money. You have great cash flow already. You don't need more cash flow that's going to be taxed. You need future wealth. So which is right? Or what's your take?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of answered it right there. I mean, it really is that basic, is that when you're working with folks that are high cash flow earners, whether it's from a business or it's from W-2, it does not matter. That is cash flow. That is what we call a cash event. And most of them, their expenses are way below their cash flow. And their problem they come to us with is, I got a tax problem. Yeah, because you got a lot of cash flow. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to all of a sudden take your cash flow, put it into other assets that create more cash flow. Because then what's it do? It just continues to increase your tax liability. So those types of situations, it makes sense for us to be able to take your cash flow and put it into assets that are looking for more value and appreciation. So, and typically with that would be major ones are real estate and business. Because you can, based on the real estate and based on the business more so, you can control the expenses and the flow of cash and the returns on your dollars or the cash in there. But when you're putting money into other types of assets, and everybody just kind of plows cash flow, positive income, passive income, right? All of that stuff is taxable. Now, we're not saying in the appreciation, the other one, that it's not going to be taxable. It will eventually. It's just we're delaying that from a day-to-day or year-to-year cash flow income situation to a later on down the road. But that's planning, right? Then you add other assets that complement that. And those assets complement you and your cash flow. But some people, Erin, they just like to know that they're getting their return on their dollars. Okay. Then you just need to know that's going to increase your tax bill. And we got to do other tax planning to minimize and kind of offset some of that.
Okay. Very good. Number 2 would be, this is something that comes up all the time, pay off your mortgage or use that cash elsewhere. You know, one of the most common things we hear out there, it's, be debt free, pay off your house. But then there's plenty of others who would say, yourself included probably, that why would you put your money into something that typically has a pretty low interest rate when you could be doing other things with that money? So how does someone evaluate whether this makes sense for them or not?
Yeah. Well, I guess the best way to explain this is with the analogy of, if you had a safe in your closet. And in that safe, you had a bunch of cash stacked up. I mean, it was like a Tupperware cabinet, right? You got to like close the cabinet so the Tupperware doesn't fall. It's just busting at the seams with cash. And you close it up, you lock it up, you forget the code, or you don't have a key. Well, but you got all this cash.
Huh.
But what good is it now? Having cash is not the value of what you have. It's access to that cash to use and deploy into other things. And your relationship with the IRS says, hey, if you use your cash, your capital, and you put it into certain types of assets, I, the IRS, your business partner, I'm going to give you tax benefits depending on what you put it into. So let's equate that to a house. And real estate. Sure, you could be debt free, but when they say debt free, they're talking about like high 22, 28% credit card. So much so Trump at the time of this recording is wanting to cap that because he knows it's egregious, right? Do you realize in other countries, they don't have 30-year mortgages because it's predatory. And we're talking about creating 40-year mortgages so people can afford a home, right? Well, but I don't want debt. Here's the thing. If you have debt is basically you've accessed capital. And what's the cost of that debt you need to be mindful of? So if you use a credit card and it's at a 25% rate, that's a high rate for the access to that capital. It's somebody else's money and they're charging you for it and you're paying for that. You're renting that capital. So you got to pay it back. Your house would be the same thing. You're living in it. You're actively living in it. So if I had no debt on my house, and your house is valued at, let's say, just $1 million, or just randomly use a random number. I have $1 million. Great. Whoa. Now what? You don't have access to that $1 million. Again, the safe analogy, right? So, but what if you were to access 200,000 of it? So you kept it down, and that 200,000 you were able to go buy. Let's use the real estate as an example. Continue, and then you bought an investment property. You put 200,000 down. And you were able to buy a $800,000 property and it's paying income, renters, and that's appreciating too. Could you take your cash flow and pay off that debt? And now you still have your home with a cash flow stream paying off that debt you used, good debt, but now you have this other asset that's creating cash flow or increasing in value, right? The wealthy call it the buy-borrow strategy. They buy assets, and they borrow the equity to buy assets, rinse and repeat. The reason why people want their mortgages paid off because it's not an asset. It's a liability. And if you have your mortgage paid off, try not paying your property tax and see what happens. You still don't own your house when you own it. Okay, and that's part of the egregious conversation about property taxes when you pay off a house, right? But that's a different conversation. My point in that is that it's a liability to you. Now, if you borrow some of that equity and put into another asset, you turned your liability into an asset. It's still going to be a debt, but this other asset pays that off. You're using the capital. That's the difference, really, is when we're focusing on that. Did I explain that okay?
It does. And that's so cool because, we talk to high income earning doctors and, play the game the way the wealthy do. And you just think about how many people throughout middle America, older than me, older than you, but like they're sitting on just a paid off house, but they don't have a lot of money, and they've never really been taught how to do this. It's kind of sad, really.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah. And debt is debt. So we got to be mindful of it, right? Just like any type of analysis of I'm going to buy something. What's the value? I'm going to buy fruit today. What's the value of me buying fruit? My health. Okay, great. Or I go buy potato chips. Whoa, what's the value? It tastes better, but it's worse for my health, right? That's my kryptonite.
Matter of opinion, but
I love strawberries. I love watermelon, but man, if you put that in a bag of chips in front of me, I'm my kryptonite. It's chips. I don't know what to say. But you have to make a decision on your capital. What are you going to do? And debt is debt. So you still got to be mindful of what that looks like. So when people say you want to be debt free, it's because people don't know how to be mindful of it, or they've never been taught how to be mindful of it.
And it comes down to, it depends on who you are as a person. If you are just so set on having a paid off house and that's going to make you feel so good and sleep so good at night, fine, do it,
Yeah.
But we want you to understand what's possible with all the options.
Yeah. Yeah. And your goals may have to be adjusted, because you may have a retirement goal, or I want a certain amount of passive income or replacement income of my income at a certain time. But if you're not using all the capital and the assets that you have, then you may have to change your goals.
Mm-hmm.
But at least right? It's an educated decision, and you have to come to grips with the decision for your money, not ours, not anybody else's, yours.
Right. Okay, number 3, pretty common one: max out your retirement accounts versus maintain control of your money. This is a big one. And again, people coming to us have really good cash flow. We say, keep doing what you're doing, save for retirement, live the life you want to live, and then now let's work with what you have over here. But it's just what people have been told from the beginning. It's like, max out your 401k, your IRA, let them grow. But you talk often about not imprisoning your dollars until 59 and a half, because what if you could be doing better things with those dollars? So what's the balance there? Talk us through your philosophy.
Yeah. Again, that's a depends answer, right? So people who have high cash flow versus those that have high cash flow, but they have high expenses as well, right? That is a decision that's they're different decisions. The asset of retirement plans is not a bad asset. But the whole point of building wealth and being a business owner, the most important thing to a business owner is access to capital. Whether it's access to capital from your normal cash flow, or access to capital from being able to lend, or fill in the blank. Okay. Now, if I don't have access to capital, I can't go put that money elsewhere. Now, there's an opportunity cost to our decisions. Right? And an opportunity cost is an economic term that says, if I make decision A, I don't know what B is going to be. But if I make decision on B, I don't know what A is going to be. That's the opportunity cost. We don't really know that other than assumptions based on experience or what people tell us. Okay? So when you're putting money into a retirement account, we still think it's a valuable asset, but it's usually about number 7 in our strategy list. Not number 1, like most advisors or CPAs. And why do most advisors and CPAs tell someone to max out their retirement account? Because of tax benefits. So they're really not tax planners. They're not really doing something tax-wise. They're actually locking up those funds, that capital, to get a tax benefit. And it's free money if they match. It is free money. But if you're getting $1 for up to 4%, right, that is free money. But if I had access to that capital, could I deploy that into other assets and make a greater return that outweighs the free money and that tax benefit? What if that freed up capital gets me a tax benefit and it grows more? Then what value is that money being locked up? And I got that free money anyways. Right? So it's really knowing what to do with that capital. It's not one's better than the other. It's okay, if I had capital, what do I do with it? Where do I put it? How's that fit into my situation? Versus blanket statements. Oh, you need to max out your retirement plan, hands down. There's a lot of tax attorneys, really smart guys that I follow on YouTube. That's like their first advice as well. And from a legal perspective on YouTube, I can see why they say it's safe. They don't know all of their clients, right? But they don't have a system in place. We're strategists. We use assets. We use investments, we use taxes, we use access to capital, we use everything that is available to strategize accumulation of wealth. That's what we are. We're strategists. And every asset has a purpose, but it depends on you. What do you want to accomplish? What do you have? What can we do? And we build off a plan to that point.
I love it. I don't want to go on tangents, but this is not on my list of the 5, but what you were just talking about lends itself to this advice too that people get. It's like, diversify, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But then many of the most successful people are all in on business and not in the stock market, or they're all in on real estate. or, a lot of people just do the stock market. So just quickly, what is your philosophy on diversifying versus concentrating your wealth?
It's where we take a step back and look at what an asset is. What's the definition of an asset? It's something that creates value, creates income. Okay. And so think about, I'm a doctor. I make $750,000 a year. I am an asset. I am all in on me doctoring. I'm getting a return on my doctoring experience at $750 a year and whatever it increases to. With that philosophy, then why would you want to put money anywhere else? Why wouldn't you just keep putting money into yourself and you just become better and better and better doctor and you make more and more and more and more money until that's right, because you cap out. There's a ceiling. So when we have these dollars, we want to put them into other assets. And so then we judge those assets, not me as an asset. We judge those assets. So I'm all in as a business owner. Yeah, Elon Musk, he's all in business, but not just one business. But the outcome is what eventually occurs is I got a tax problem. So if you focus on one asset, whether it's real estate, whether it's business, whether it's whatever you focus on, it will lead to a tax problem. That's the system. It was designed that way. But the IRS, your business partner, says, but if you did take some of your capital and put it in other areas, you could actually get a tax benefit from me, your business partner, the IRS, based on you putting that capital there. Now, you can get a better tax benefit depending on how you participate in that asset that you put your capital in. And they give material participation rules, right? So if you're all in, no matter what it is, if I eat healthy, I'm going to be healthier. If I exercise, I'm going to be healthier. If I'm all into that, but I don't do anything else and I have no friends, what's the value of that?
Yeah, that's
right.
Good.
I mean, the horrible thing is you're not going to have potato chips. Right?
Horrible.
But that's okay. Diversify to potato chips is my whole point in this video. Right?
I'm very glad I went there because you just made some really good points that, again, it's not just this one layer of advice. It's this multi-layered buddy system that you talk about that everything impacts everything else. So you have to look at it from that bigger picture, right?
Yeah. And it does get more complicated. Yeah. Right. And I think that's what people shy away from is the complication. Well, I don't want it to be easier. Well, it could be easier. It's going to cost you though. It's going to cost you more taxes. It's going to cost you your goals and what you want to do. It's going to cost you, right? No, nobody who is a self-made millionaire made it by themselves. In this world of AI, we may start seeing that, but they didn't make it by themselves. They used a tool of AI that other people created. So we make these terms in society to make self-importance. No, it's not about ego and pride. It's about us as a community and as a society. We rise each other. And when you bring other people in to help build your assets and work together, you rise together. That's the wealth. A byproduct is the financial wealth. But the human wealth, you can't put a price on that. Go to somebody's funeral and you'll learn about somebody. And then you'll walk away and go, man, I wish I would have spent more time with them. Because everybody talks about the nice things that they remember of that person. And you go, I didn't have that experience with them. And you walk away feeling a sense of loss because you didn't get to experience that with that individual. Now, there's some funerals you go to, and you're the person talking about that. And other people are walking away with that feeling as well, that, I wish I would have spent more time. Imagine you built your life around the attendance of your funeral. And people attended your funeral because of the person you are. Will you have just family and friends? Or will there be people outside the church? Depends on how you want your life to mean. And it's different for everybody. We just throw this money into this system and it complicates things. But the reality is that money is always going to be there. And I guarantee you, the better you are as a human being and a person, and you take your experience and you bring it to other people, you will make more, just as a byproduct.
Absolutely. A byproduct of the value you put out into the world. That is awesome. Okay, getting back to my list. Number 4, conflicting financial advice. Crypto is the future versus crypto is just too volatile. And I like this one. It's been a while since we've talked about it. You have people who say, and I know you're in this camp, crypto is the future, particularly Bitcoin. It's going to fundamentally change the financial system. But then you have a lot of people saying, it's very volatile, it's speculative, and you could lose a lot of your money, like Bitcoin down right now. So, both can be true. What's your take on crypto?
Yeah, it's pretty much like everything, but I think it's the terminology that is being used that's incorrect. When people say crypto is the future, what they're saying is the blockchain technology that crypto is built off of is the future. Using the word crypto is like talking about real estate. Which kind? Talking about raw land? Are we talking about farmland? Are we talking about developed? Are we talking about hill country? We're talking about flat desert land? Or are we talking about single family home? You get the idea. Crypto is like saying real estate. It expresses the entire thing. And so both are true, but which projects, which areas of crypto will be built or are being built into the future? Now, I had somebody say, well, crypto isn't like real assets. Oh, yeah, actually it is. There's a lot of crypto right now that is backed by real estate. You remember what the United States government was backed on? The gold standard. And then at a point in time, we walked away from the gold standard, and all of a sudden we all think that the value of that we have is secured, but it says on your money it's backed by the government. Now the government has spent so much money, now we're like hearing all these things, and so now we start being concerned. Everything, money, the first money used to be seashells. If you look at the history of money. How come we don't use seashells anymore? Rome started deteriorating because their silver coins, they started shaving off silver and it became less and less silver. Right? So currency was always something else before it became something new. And then that new became something else because something new came around. It's the technology of crypto, the blockchain technology, that is moving us from this next structure. Because if we didn't use technology, we'd still be using the abacus to count. I mean, think about it, right? Yeah. Now we don't even have to count. We can just say, hey, Grok, what's 2 + 2? Okay, cool. We don't even have to type it in anymore now. We don't have to bring up a calculator.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that crypto is the future, but it's when and how. Yes, it's volatile, but it does not, because it's volatile doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There's areas of the stock market that's volatile. There's areas in real estate that's volatile. There's areas in business that are volatile. It's, again, it's your education, your approach to these assets. What's your goal? What's your outcome? What do you want to do? I'm not telling you have to go buy crypto, but you do need to be aware that this technology does exist. Because if you're still using a rotary phone on the wall, then you've missed out on a lot of things of being able to connect and socialize and that kind of stuff with technology improving, right? I mean, you can't buy a rotary phone anymore. So at some point, our current form of currency will disappear. And you will be forced in a position of using something that you don't have a clue on. That's where the shame is. You don't have to adopt it. You don't have to put all your money into it. You have to sell everything and put it into Bitcoin or whatever it is. But you do need to be aware of the technology that is shifting and adjusting. So
that's really good. Just comparing it to any technology and how, in my own life, like my grandma was 70 years old and she's like, oh, I'm not going to learn email. She lived 17 more years. And I'm like, Grandma, you could have been emailing me for 17 years, but you're just like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. But things keep moving and you have to keep up on them. And so if you're not, and you talk about how there's volatility in every area. Oftentimes the things that have the most volatility or risk can come with the biggest reward too, right? Yeah. So it has to do with your own risk tolerance. and, maybe something on the side that you might lose. It's kind of like gambling in Vegas. Like, I'm just going to have fun with this, but it could pay off really well, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And the funny thing is that, in the crypto world, they call it decentralized. But if you think about it, once you start getting regulated, right, which is what the crypto industry wants the United States government, they want some guidelines or regulations of saying what they can do, then it starts becoming centralized. Centralization is based on rules, right? But I mean, think about Facebook. When Facebook first came out, all the young kids were on it. Everybody had a Facebook page until Instagram came out. Now the young kids are on Instagram and they know the type of person you are, old, if you're using Facebook. Right?
Oh, shucks.
So what's the next thing? I don't know, right? So that's the whole point of what they call progress, but that's not progress. It's the evolution of the human mind. Yeah. Always stretching to that next thing that, wow, what if? And then they come out and you find out all these people liked that what if too. Yeah. And it now becomes adopted because MySpace was before Facebook. Blockbuster was before Netflix, right? And we can go through history and talk about that. Kodak does not exist anymore other than their patents and their technology. And they were a top 20 company for years. So anyways, not to belabor that, but it really comes down to you need to understand it, not spend all your time on it, but you do need to understand that this is essentially where it's going to. If the government is putting guidelines and regulations and addressing rules to it, then it's going to be adopted. It's going to be some part of our future.
Yep. So good. Okay. Number 5 is a more philosophical one, and that is buy assets versus buy experiences. So there's the philosophy of delayed gratification, don't buy the expensive car or take the big vacation or upgrade your house, like invest that money instead. But then the other side of the coin says, what is the point of building wealth if you never use it to enjoy your life? And we don't know what tomorrow may bring. So how does one balance that and evaluate when to invest and when to actually spend and enjoy?
Yeah. I think that's a very thoughtful question, because I think it comes down to definitely the individual and what their outcomes are. Because when we talk to members that have close families, one of the most valuable currency, in my opinion, is the time currency. We just can't get it back, right? And financially, that's what we're trying to use. Is we're trying to use money and finance as a way to buy back time so we can go spend later years more with our family. But could you do that at the same time? Could you create a structure? So one of the things we've talked about with our adult kids is, can we create a family business that we collectively as a family business, we can learn from the past generation, right? The older generation of our experiences. Can we pass it on to the new? Can the new generation pass on those to us, the older experience, and build something together where you're spending time, but at the same time, you're building that reserve? Because at the end of the day, if I save a ton of money, my dad is like this. He's very frugal, and he kind of debates on he's going to spend money or whatever, but he knows he's not going to leave Earth with it, right? So what's the value to it? And then what if your health becomes a conversation? And now you don't get the time value of experiences because of your health, but then you have all this money. Right. So I think living in the moment, and this is something I definitely have to do better at, right? Because I find value in building membership for our doctors, for our members. I find value in doing this. This is a ministry to me, right? This is something that I strive to do. I don't feel like I'm working the hours that I do when I'm doing this. Now, not every day feels like that. There's days where I walk home and go, why am I doing this? Right? Well, we all do in every relationship, right? But eventually you come back to this and you're like, man, this is a value to me. What's a value to you? I am learning, because now I do have adult kids. And so I was pouring my time and energy in my kids when they were younger and they were in sports. I was being the dad. So they had good memories. I had good memories. Now it's my wife and I. And then what are we deciding on doing with our time? Right. And she's really good at saying, hey, Bob, maybe let's do some weekend trips. We don't have to take week-long, 2-week-long trips, but let's do a bunch of weekend trips, right? About 6 years ago, we moved to Texas. She's like, let's just do some weekend trips that are driving distance from where we're at so we can learn our state and learn the different things that are about here. And then being in Texas, it's an 3-hour flight someplace, so we can do a weekend trip someplace else as well. So being more mindful of those experiences, and that doesn't cost a ton of money, right? It's not a $12,000 trip because we're going for 10 days.
Right.
Now you can do those, but that's what I'm saying is that still feeling like you're building that value of time and building that value relationships, and looking at that as a currency as well. But again, you go back to my example of the funeral. You want just family and friends there? Or do you want other people that were impacted by you, that you probably didn't even know their name, but something you did impacted them because your child or your friend and their experience made them to say, man, I want to go to that guy's funeral.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Now, I'm not building my life for people to show up for my wake. You know what I mean? But it is a good thought process to your point of the philosophical thought of this, is that what kind of human do I want to be? And what do I want other humans to say about me as a human?
It's a really neat thing to think about and an important thing to think about. And as you said, time is our greatest currency. You can always make more money. You can do with less money, but time is the one thing you will never get back.
Yeah.
So thank you. I love getting your takes on all these things. So thank you for sharing all that.
Of course,
and Doc,
thank you.
we hope you found this valuable. I would say the main takeaway is that there is so much advice, so much information, but what matters most is how it makes sense to you and your situation. And not only being educated on these things, but being clear on your own priorities and values so that you can make financial decisions that align with them. So thank you, as always, for being here. And until next time, go be a wealth maverick.